What's good, peeps? It's your boy Eduard Todor. This weekend has been insane. I performed like so much without even meaning to. I just went out and like talked to random people and performed, and then I went to that club that I got kicked out. Well, wasn't let in last time because I didn't have the right shoes or whatever. I went there, performed a little bit. All of a sudden, I'm performing for like 10 people instead of 4 that I started with. All of a sudden, the bouncer comes and he's like, "Bro, are you the magic man?" I show him some shit, and then all of a sudden he leaves, brings another bouncer, show them. And one of the waiters comes, I do that for the waiter. Then the waiter brings another waiter, I do it for like it was just insane, right? Like it was just like everyone's like, and then there's just like like elderly like Asian family. They're just like watching from like kind of fast. I'm like, yeah, come, and I did some stuff for them. Yeah, it was pretty funny. So. This is kind of like a new challenge I'm doing. All right, every time I take a deck out and I want to go out performing whatever and just practice whatever, I'm gonna be doing. See how basically. Wait, let me see. I don't know how I can angle this. I have like that's my signature, but I have like all these signed cards now just from that night. I got like so many signed cards. It's pretty insane, and I'm just basically at this point. There we go. And I'm basically at this point just gonna, like, this is my new thing, right? I'm gonna basically see how many signatures I can get in a pack of cards before I have to replace it. Now, this is getting really old, so I'm gonna have to definitely replace it. And there's probably a couple more in here somewhere. But this is a really cool thing because it kind of like shows like how, there's like a metric of how much you've performed. And I like that a lot. You can give the cards out for them to keep, but I like this like a lot because if I give the cards out, I'm not gonna have like. Eventually, I'll run out of cards to actually perform with. But even if the cards are all signed, I can still perform, right? It doesn't, like, as long as they're not signed on the back. So yeah, and I was getting out of my comfort zone. This guy, one of the guys was like, wait, can you like, give it to me for shuffle? And I was like, yeah, here you go. They shuffled it, give it back to me, and I just go like this, and that's his card, just like crazy shit like that. Like, that's usually stuff I'm not that comfortable with. But this weekend I was just pumping it. So I figured I would make a video on something that I've struggled basically my whole life, okay? It's my whole magic life. I've struggled with performance anxiety, okay? And even if you're not a magician, even if you're, whatever you do in life, there's gonna be a way you can apply what I'm about to talk about. Because if you're a musician, if you just like to speak, okay, a lot of people struggle with anxiety and anything like, anxiety when in an interview, anxiety, so it's like this is a very broad thing. But I've always struggled with performance anxiety, and whenever I remember as a kid, I wouldn't even perform. I would have my cards on me. But people would be like, "Oh, can you show a trick?" And I'd be like, "No, I don't have my cards." Or like, "Oh, can you show a trick?" "Nah, this is a bad pack." But it was like a brand new pack. You know what I mean? So I've always struggled with this, and there's been a couple of times where I got over it. But because I didn't perform for a while, it kind of came back. And then, since I started this channel, I've been performing like quite often, everywhere. People kind of know me as the magician guy now, so they always expect me to perform. So I've been getting like a lot of experience with this and just dealing with, understanding how to deal with the anxiety. So essentially what it really comes down to, like, let's look at why you get it in the first place, okay? And performance anxiety comes in mostly because you're afraid to fail. You're afraid to get caught, right? Because if you think about it, if you do a self-working trick, right, most of the time you can just chill out. Like when if I do a self-working trick and I know it works every time, like with no skill, I can even dude, like this, all my anxiety goes out the window. I don't have any panic. I don't have anything. So really, in reality, it's you're afraid to get caught. Now, why are you afraid to get caught, right? Well, most likely it's because if you get caught doing a move, now you've already kind of came across like, oh, I'm the magician. If you got caught by the spectator, you lose. Now you're a bad magician, which therefore means you're a bad person, right? Now I know that's not what you're like literally going through in your mind. That's not what you're rational, but that's kind of what subconsciously what you're thinking. Like, if I say I'm this, and then I fail at doing what I say I do, well then they're not gonna like me. And obviously, like from an evolutionary standpoint, that's a terrible thing, right? You don't want people to not like you, because then you get kicked out of the tribe, or you get speared in the head with a rock, speared in the head with a spear, I get, or you get like hit in the head with a rock. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, you have to kind of understand that it doesn't matter what people think of you. Okay, that's the first thing. I know it's easy to think, but let's just go through these like steps. It doesn't really matter what people think of you in the first place. Okay, it doesn't change your life, right? There's millions of people billions of people in the world. Like if 100 people hate you here, it doesn't make any difference in the long scheme, in the long run of things, right? And also, if you get caught with one move, it doesn't mean anything, right? Like on the weekend, I got caught with a couple things. I fooled him with 15 other shit right after that, right? So it might be a little bit hard if you're starting out and you don't have a lot of moves in your repertoire. But then most people, you just be like, oh, I just started learning. And then people aren't going to give a shit if they catch you. It's like, oh, yeah, nice. You keep practicing, yeah? It's no big deal. And if you're really good, chances are you're going to be able to find outs, okay? And there were times where I got caught doing a move, and I'm like, yeah, but then I do this, right? Like one time I got caught doing this move, which is magician's biggest fear, whether you put a card in the middle and it comes back to the top. That's like every magician's biggest fear, to get caught with that move. And I was like, and they caught me, and I'm like, yeah, but you know what happens though, right? People like people say that they see it face down. But I'm going to put it face up, right? Now you see it face up in the middle. You see it until the very last moment, and it's up, and then I just fooled them with something else. And they're like, oh, holy shit, okay, you're good, like I'll give it to you, And so it's never over. That's the one thing you got to think. It is never over. You get caught with one thing, you just go straight into the other thing, and you acknowledge that they caught you. It's like, yeah, exactly, right? But then this is what happens when that, and so they see you as, oh, yeah, I was meant to fail there. Or, yeah, you caught me, but, like, that wasn't, that's only, like, 1% of my shit. So that's another thing you have to constantly think about. You get caught, it's no big deal, okay? It's absolutely no big deal. You can just improvise using something else. Sometimes I will do a trick where I'm not necessarily ready for them to shuffle the pack, okay? And they want to shuffle the pack. Here, shuffle the pack. I go into something completely different. In fact, I've even been called out on it. A girl said, wait, did I screw you up by shuffling? And I'm like, actually you did, because at that point where you told me to shuffle, I wasn't actually ready to do that, and so I completely changed the trick on you. But here, look, I'll do that trick again, and you shuffle, right? And so the honesty and the fact that I actually told her, but I didn't actually reveal anything, right? I actually told, she was like, oh, really? Wow, that's actually interesting. She shuffled it, I did the trick again, and her mind went blown, right? So it's never over. Like, just because you get caught by something, as long as you're comfortable with that, as long as you're not butthurt over the fact they caught you, like, no, that wasn't it, no, like, as long as you're a normal human being, you're interacting with them on the same level, not as some magician that, oh, I know everything and you don't know shit. It's like you're on the same level and you're just showing them something cool. As long as you have that kind of like mentality, it's never over, okay? It's never over. Now, all these things, things like having the self-esteem to be like, I don't care what people think of me. I don't care if I fail. I don't care if the guy thinks I'm a bad magician. All these things we kind of rationally know in our minds, right? We know that we should be thinking this, but when you actually get out there, you still get nervous. So what do you do, okay? Because the reality is, like, these things are ingrained into us, having that anxiety to make sure that people like you is like ingrained into you since you were born. Like these are things that are like a survival instinct, right? So how do we basically overcome that and feel completely at ease when you're performing, feel completely at ease when you screw up, even, which has happened to me in this weekend, and I was completely fine. And by the way, I know exactly how it is to screw up. Don't feel like, oh, you're this big magician, of course you wouldn't be scared to you wouldn't be scared to fail. I've failed, like I've screwed up bad on stage in front of 200 people, okay? And I don't do stage, so that was a scary experience. I have done all that shit, okay? Like, I've gone through there. I know how it feels. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change who I am, right? It doesn't, like, you guys still watch me. I fail on stage, so what, okay? So how do we overcome these, like, kind of, like, basically survival instincts of, like, making sure that we fit in society and all that stuff, which again, you shouldn't just be weird as hell and not give a shit about what anyone thinks, but you should also have the self-respect to be like, I don't care if you think I'm a shit magician, I'm gonna fool you with 15 other things if I really want to. Maybe I don't even want to perform for you because since you're doing this, right? But most of the time, as long as you're not butthurt, you'll be fine. Now, how do we get over it? It's essentially just desensitization. The more you perform, right, the more you prove to yourself that you can perform and kind of adapt in situations and that you're not going to get caught, and even if you get caught, it's fine, right? The more you do it, the more you become used to it, and the more you become like at ease with the risk of getting caught, because you realize once you start performing a lot, you realize it doesn't actually matter. Okay, I've had people that know the exact trick I'm doing, and all I do is I get them on my side, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, right? But look, have you seen this one? And I do a trick for everyone that guy probably doesn't know, because I know some shit that most people won't. And even he's impressed. So then everyone else is like, holy shit, that guy knew one of the tricks and he's still impressed. That's crazy, So once you start performing a lot, you start to really, really get used to it. And I struggled with this for a long time. I didn't even want to perform, but I've been on that grind recently. And honestly, once you perform to like 3-4 people that night, maybe like do a couple of card tricks. Once you're like warmed up, even before for me now, but like once you're warmed up, you're honestly not even gonna give a shit. You are not going to give a shit. Once you get into that state of like, you've done that trick a couple times that night, and people have been like kind of like vibing with it, you are not going to give a shit. It's called desensitization, and what it basically does, it just it shows you that you can do it, and it puts you in an environment which you were previously uncomfortable with, right? And so the more you're in that environment, the more used to it you become. It's like any type of stimuli. The more you experience it, the less obvious it becomes. Unless it's a negative, right? Like if it's pain, it actually increases over time. But that's another story. But that's essentially what it is. It's just going out and performing, okay? And people are like, well, I don't have any way to perform. This was me for a long time. Honestly, dude, like if you go out, if you're like 18, right, or I don't know what legal ages are in your country or whatever, and you go out to like bars, to clubs, there's no reason why you shouldn't be performing. There's no reason. And then I'll make a video talking about like actually start like approaching people and meeting people and actually starting to perform, because that seems to be the hardest thing for people, like actually going out, because you don't really want to be that guy like, oh yeah, hey guys, I'm a magician, do you want to pick a card? Like just some random, right? You kind of want to have some social calibration to understand, like, you don't want to just be that guy that can only do card tricks and can't talk to anyone, and if he doesn't have cards in his hands, he's like this, right? So I'll probably make a video about that at some point if you guys really enjoy this video. But yeah, just if you ever go out with me, like at some point in your life, if you ever come out, you'll see when I like go to an outside area, the whole area knows that I do card tricks at the end, like, and I don't even bring it up. So I will definitely make a video about it, and yeah, look forward to that. But until then, just try to perform as much as you can in front of your family members, in front of your friends, and sometimes that's the hardest people to perform for, because they probably know all the moves because you've been practicing on them, right? But don't give a shit. Don't give a shit that they even know that what you're doing. Just keep performing, and you'll get used to that feeling, okay? Anyway, that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like. If it did help you, you know what I mean? Hopefully you get something out of it. If you want to see more of my videos, click the button below and subscribe, and it'll keep you in the loop. Follow me on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. All the links are down below. If my Patreon link, if you want to help me out with that way, is down below, and my Discord, if you want to come hang out and ask questions and do whatever you need to do, is also down below. As always, mad respect, much love, stay lit, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!